Shit, I hope I turned mine. Although, does it really matter? Like, does it really matter? No, that's what I reckon. Lloyd quite famously one time said, because I left my mobile phone on, as is not such a bad thing to do in most of Lloyd's shows, but on this particular show it wasn't really appropriate. I left my mobile phone on, and the thing that he was angry about was a fury. I should do an invitation for Elnaz. But what he was really angry about was the fact, not the fact that I left the mobile phone on, but the fact that, why didn't you answer it? Why did you turn your fucking phone off? It just made it look so staged.
Yeah,
obvious.
That's how I got cast in one of Lloyd's shows, because I answered it during one of his.
Yeah, I think I remember that. So anyway, we better move up. Should we better get
Actually, if it pleases
What's that?
If it pleases you, I told everyone to turn their mobile phones off. I've forgotten to turn mine off. So.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, leave it on.
We can all answer you.
If it rings, then pass it over to me and I'll answer. Give it to Lloyd. No, sorry. We won't make Lloyd.
Get on with the show.
This is the show, Lloyd. So, if we can go on without interruption from the peanut gallery. About 20 years ago, yeah, probably nearly 20 years ago now, it was in the 90s. I used to sit in a median strip in Highton, which is a little suburb of Geelong, but also, you know, they call it Highton Village, and it's like a village, but it's like a modern village, it's like a contemporary village, and I was like a contemporary village idiot. And I used to sit there with a little sign, and you know, Geelong's not a terrible. Sorry to all the Geelong people if there are any. There's nothing to it. No one's even fucking come from Geelong. But it's not a terribly artistic town, is it, Mr. Muir? Mr. Muir knows it quite well. And they found it. I think it was pretty weird to have a guy sitting in the median strip of Highton, you know, kind of begging with his poetry. But I didn't think it was begging, but people generally did. A little while later, Stella was telling me, just as an interesting story, Stella, who's Zenta's sister actually, who's the musician here, and she was telling me that she was walking down Swanston Street, I think, one day, and this bloke came up to her and he gave her a poem, and then chased her for a donation. Like John Lennon watching Elvis in the 50s, I thought, that's a good job. So I set myself up in Geelong. So I moved from Highton, where I was a village idiot, to Geelong, to the centre of Geelong, and I started to hand out my poetry. It's like a poetry. Geelong. The streets. Sitting hungry and humiliated. Everybody's there, but nobody knows you. Everybody knows you, but nobody's there. Where is everybody? Being with the other beggars becomes you. So the passing people in Geelong are ugly to me, sorry to say. Some young girls are beautiful because they are as yet untouched by world ugliness. Once you've seen it, there's no going back. But then it's like they get uglier quicker, because it's like the world is compressed, time and space. I remember I once saw this bloke walk past when he must have been in our 20s. I went to school with him, and he already looked silver. Like he went straight from school to bank manager to fading into stainless steel I'm waiting for the rust to set. I suppose we all get old eventually. The one thing you can't stop is the passing of time. All that's left to do is find something to make it a little bit less unbearable. It's like a piece of poetry. It's poetry. It's like a piece of poetry. Just the repetition of those words meant anything could be going on around me, and it usually was. But I just hand out my poetry. The people don't just say no. Passionate about it. They're not just saying no to this poetry on this street. They're saying no to any poetry, any street. The ones who say yes are kind of the same but the opposite. They're not just saying yes to this poetry on this street, they're saying yes to me, my existence, my being. There are many of them over the journey, and with them, it's like this Indian woman who lived below me in the Indian fashion shop in Sydney, Newtown. She was in an arranged marriage. Do you love him? I said. I am learning to love him, she said. People who love poetry are in arranged marriages. Learning to love one another. The word being, of course, in this colloquial cosmos. But this place is too cold for Helen, says Shakespeare's porter, who stands half drunk, his hope long in the sun, having just lost the key to the city. The city is a stage, the audience is elsewhere, picking nits from the hair of Melburnians, clean can be. Absurdist in the way you see, all the buildings look like abstract arts. The seagulls are sick in Swan Street. The pigeons are dying in Lygon. Black men are crying in Smith Street. Over another flag. Artworks to distract from whatever it used to be like to be real. You can feel from the cold in the bones and the 7-storey cones that make up the Department of Housing homeless, a hopeless paradox. Tautology, studies in anthropology show that with starvation, like alcoholism, the cure's in the poison, pure reason's the solution. The seagulls are sick in Swan Street.
The seagulls are sick.
The pigeons are dying in Lygon.
Pigeons are dying.
Black men are crying in Smith Street.
Black men are crying.
Over another flag. And all the university professors are dragging a wagon of paperwork to document the demise of high-rise hatred, the antipathy of society right in the middle of the city. The seagulls are sick in Swan Street. The pigeons are dying in Lygon.
Pigeons are dying in Lygon.
Black men are crying in Smith Street.
Black men are crying.
Over another flag. And the cafes in laneways are abuzz with boarding house murder, gossip over yet another sip of yet another latte, living in hope other alive, and only the social services will survive for yet another generation of social workers to clean the blood off the footpath. The seagulls are sick in Swan Street. The pigeons are dying in Lygon. Black men are crying in Smith Street. Over another flag. And in Camberwell they buy and sell souls and soup bowls for $1 million apiece. Further out there's fortresses and princesses and goddesses of suburbia, like art made plain for all to see. It's way out there because we can't bear the sight of it. Get some water now. I'm not as good at keeping the illusion as Bob Dylan. I saw him the other night. Anyway, I lived in couches. I lived on couches. I didn't live in couches. Like magical, and I made myself being this big and I snuck in like a cockroach. I kind of did live in couches, didn't I, Mr. Miller?
You did, yeah.
So I lived, for the sake of argument, let's say I lived in couches. On Geelong. That's kind of right. So I lived in couches on Geelong and caught the train to Lygon Street, where there'd been a piece of theatre, this is what we referred to earlier, Lloyd, where there'd been a piece of theatre with my name attached. So I stood on Lygon Street for some years, and then Brunswick Street, Smith Street, Spencer Street, Flinders Street, the Vic Market, all over. I moved to Ballarat for a while to live with friends and make the plays. But the streets were cold there, and the cops finally found the law I was breaking. Begging for alms, they said. Yeah. I was never quite sure what alms was. But the cops told me it was money or other forms of assistance, well, apparently this is what it is, given to people in need as charity. I thought the cops were saying alms, the way they pronounced it. And that would have been more accurate, because what I was really doing was waking people up. Looked to me like everyone was asleep, and I was getting them to think right in the middle of their no, that's all right. We're just waiting for the musician. She's apparently drunk. No, I got in trouble for saying that she was always late, but she's not. But she might be drunk. As the wedding march waltzes to the tune of this hopeless existence, they were so young and beautiful. Now she falls as she walks, so pitiful, doubled over with arthritis, drooling for breath and words, to describe having become the one the church raises money for. And her man walks beside her, so proudly, a spring in his step, having plucked the prettiest rose, knowing he'll keep her forever and guide her to the end of never. Take her as his friend to heaven and say to God, This is the one I told you about. I saw them on their last legs, limping to the afterlife. I knew them not at all and didn't bother to try and call them from their purpose, but perhaps without knowing it, they shared their life and love with me. And I'm grateful for it. And when I get to the other side, I'll ask after these two. And the Creator will point me in the direction of a young man buying movie tickets and roses. And a young woman blushing as he arrives at the door. And there he stays, forevermore. I finally rocked up in Sydney, where my kind contact who'd given me a couch told me Newtown was the place for me. When I got there, there were living poets scattered through the graveyard, sleeping in the grass, and writing in notebooks. There were men making bird sounds and others lost in the last of all books. When I got to Newtown, I finally felt like it was okay for me to live and just be who I was. I was like, wow, there's actually a place where the conservatives are the dickheads, and the radicals are the status quo. A place where even the cops seem to like my poetry. I say seem.
No.
They didn't really. They said, well, they actually did. They did. They said when they arrested me, they said, we love your poetry, Scott. We hate your fucking drugs. What?
Hate you what?
Drugs.
Oh.
It was a long time ago, Karen. I'm sorry, and I'm especially sorry to the kids that are here. Now, where was I? Because this is what I wanted to do, but now I don't know what to do now that I've done it. Even the cops like my poetry. That's what I believed anyhow. Maybe I was crazy, and we've got some clarification on that. Or maybe I just got away with being me in Newtown. In a way I'd never gotten away with it anywhere else. And then once I'd been to Newtown, no conservative could convince me of the lie that is their life supports. Establishments will tell you lies and find ways to prevent access, to keep the powerless out, to keep the low lives low. This still happened in Newtown, but there was a lot going on there, not least of which we're in the trenches of the so-called war on drugs. But maybe because of the war on the underclass, disguised as the war on drugs, or the war on refugees, war on immigration, the war on violence, or the war on this or that, moral panic everywhere. The only thing missing was the morals. Spotted all over in the doorway he lay. His face was all grounded on the cold sidewalk floor. And I guess he lived in there for a whole night or more. Only a hobo with one more is gone. carry him home. Was only a hobo, but one more is gone. A blanket of his bed covered his head, as a step was his pillow, the street was his bed. One look at his face showed the heartbreak, and a fistful of coins showed the money he'd done. Only a hobo, but one more is gone, leaving nobody to sing his sad song. Leaving nobody to carry him home. There's only a hobo, but one more is gone. Does it take much of a man to see your whole life go down? To look up in the world from a hole in the ground? To look to the future like a horse that's gone lame? To lie in the gutter and die with no name? Only a hobo, but one more is gone, leaving nobody to sing his sad song. Leaving nobody to carry him home. Only a hobo, but one more is gone. I like it. It's funny because I've been doing these school shows, which Kerry knows about. I've been playing Galileo, and when we go there, we've got the fellow who warms up the kitchen, and the actors, they like applause, everybody give a big clap. And so I've gotten used to it, and even I've been playing the role of someone who likes applause. So I was like, I go, oh yes, I do like applause. That's right, yeah. Oh, thank you. You don't think maybe I'm not right, I'll give you the opportunity. Anyway, I remember when I was a little kid, and can I still be saying that? I remember when I was a little kid, and my parents would tell me to wait somewhere to be picked up, and they'd say, but don't sit in the gutter. But it always made sense to me. To sit in the gutter. My old man was an engineer, and he probably saw a drainage system when he looked in the gutter. I just saw an empty seat, somewhere to rest my legs and get the energy to keep going. And I remember all those years when I travelled through New South Wales with a tent on my back, and I'd see all the to and from Sydney on the bus, and I'd see all the people living in cardboard boxes, chewing on bones with their bare gums, no teeth at all. And I'd sing that oboe song to myself, just loud enough, so everyone could hear it. It was during the reign of John Howard that the Outcaste weekly poet came into being. Printed by Alfaro Printing, who some of you may know from Newtown. It's run by this bloke, Augustine. You might need that later, Karen. Augustine, he's a South American guy who didn't much care for the rules, all the people who made it. And that suited me just fine. I'd go in there and he was on his second mail order bride, Augustine. That's a bit rough to say, but it's true. And you go there and say, the old lady was better, you know. She used to help around and all that. No? The woman is homeless, she can't do anything. You called her Charlie, he couldn't pronounce her real name. So Charlie is out there, she's not doing anything.
No.
When I said, I'd go in there and he'd be all stressed out saying, I'm trying to clean up! I don't have time for you! But then when I said, maybe Augustine, I should get my poetry printed somewhere else. He said, but Scott, you're in my heart. 6 months later, I said, Augustine, do you know where that poem is? Yeah. Your poetry is all over my factory! When we all came in, we would have been given a song sheet. Politicians forced to work. I think Karen dropped her. Oh no, that wasn't yours, that was yes, okay. Cool. So everyone's still got their song sheet. And what we want to do here is for everyone to grab their song sheet, and we'll have a little sing along, and it goes to the tune of The Times They Are Changing, so it's easy to know. Come gather round peasants wherever you roam. We know you're social spirit, you take up no home. Get a job or poison your door somewhere wrong. For your children, they're all at school age. You better get working or they might not come home. For the education is where you're raised. Come criminals and others who claim to be mad, and don't criticize what my generation had. A free education while I sponge off my dad. That was all McLean was sorry losing. You're involved in the plans and running and things, but the welfare system we are changing. The end is near, they crumble to dust. For the trouble will rise, they're riddled with rust, and find them when forced to, then find them we must. Easily just like honey. Let them have all the pie, let them have all the crust, for the love it's been poisoned by monetary loss, and the interest rates they are changing. Really was. You were all great. Howard was refusing to apologise to the black population for stealing their land and vandalising for stealing their kids and vandalising their land. And I started to sell a newspaper made out of poetry with White's Riot for 200 years on the front page. I went to Redfern a few times just to buy some dope. In the gutters, amid the mutters of a world gone all white. Like nights long ago, the old women of Redford do what they know. Selling dope of many kinds, killing the hope and shrinking the minds of the young who roam aimless down the cobblestones of Vegas. They'll tell you they've got smack. They'll tell you they've got speed. They'll sell you marijuana or anything you need, but once they've got your money, they'll fill a bag up with used needles. The tears of blood keep falling from the rainbow snake. It's cruel. I myself tread through the syringes of the dream time. Careful not to prick my toes. I've a tracker who always goes to Redfern with me. It's what a white boy needs. As one passes, one watches, one beat the other amid the shudder of the mother and women who won't leave. Why? Because they're black. Because they're women. And the police there have a ghostly, invisible white presence. The station, camouflaged by the light in a hot irony of weakness, they bully only their own kind. Living in constant fear of ever going near Everleigh Street, where not so long ago the hot rocks of a volcano exploded in the eroded soil of social cohesion. They impaled our young on a white picket fence. The old women silently sobbed as they sucked the baby's bottle of grog and snored up all them petrol fumes. Fish the putrid oceans, nothing's been their catch forevermore.